Good evening and welcome to the Italian Impact Podcast. I am your host, Steve Stefano Mancini, and as always, I'd like to thank you for joining me, and I would like to thank my listeners from all over the world, especially from all over the world. In fact, I keep saying this every week, and I love looking at statistics and numbers. I'm kind of weird like that, but obviously the most listeners are coming from the U.S., but I am just absolutely flabbergasted by the number of people in countries like the U.K., Canada, Singapore, obviously Italy. I'm glad the Italians are listening. Grazie mille for that. I hope the Italian Impact podcast would be appreciated in Italy. So thank you to the folks in Italy that are listening. But I'm also getting listeners in the Middle East, in Africa. I've even got a lot of listeners in Russia and China and places that I would never expect. Brazil, I kind of expect Brazil. So I can honestly say the podcast is international. And the fact that people keep coming back tells me they're enjoying it. And so for all of my listeners all around the world, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule. And please feel free to email me at questions@ItalianImpactWeekly.com. Again, that's questions@ItalianImpactWeekly.com. Would love to get your feedback. Would love to get your thoughts. And I can tell you this, I can have a guest from anywhere in the world on the show. So please feel free to reach out. Having said that, I want to remind everyone this is the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War, something that we should all reflect on because there are things that go on in the world to this day that are the result of decisions that were made 80 years ago, 100 years ago, and that ripple of time is something that we shouldn't forget. That's how we avoid, in theory, making the same mistakes. So reflect upon the end of the war, 80 years ago. Reflect on the cost of the war. And if you happen to be in Pennsylvania, I do encourage you, stop over in Chambersburg. September 11th, there will be a big celebration. A lot of the families of the Italian prisoners of war that were held there during the Second World War will be returning. I think we got about 35 or 40 family members returning. And there'll be a bunch of celebrations, a bunch of events, a lot of stuff going on. So if you can make it out to Chambersburg, I encourage you because some of the buildings from the time of the war are still there, including the most famous one, which is the chapel. So the chapel is still there, and the tower is still there. So you can go check that out and, meet some of the family members, and I'll be there as well. So, really encourage you to stop by if you can make it. And if you can't make it that date, please make a trip out to Chambersburg and go see the chapel. It is worth your time. Also, as the honorary Italian consulate, I would like to thank all of the folks that are coming by and, they're coming by asking questions, sending emails, calling me, stopping by the office. I do appreciate that. The fact that I'm getting, as I kind of jokingly say, as much business as I'm getting just kind of reinforces the idea that the Italian community is actually fairly strong in this area. And I encourage folks that if you need anything, please look me up, and I'll be glad to assist you in any way I can. Now, on to bigger and better things, which is the reason I'm here for the guest, who is still looking at me confused because he's not sure why he's here. Well, we're going to figure that out. So this week's guest is Marco Fiorante, who is a professional singer, and I'm going to call him a professional tour guide. Marco, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
And I'm glad you actually came into the studio because I love remote interviews, but at the same time, I think you missed the facial gestures and when to cut off and when to talk and all that good stuff. But Marco, let's kind of talk. You have a funny accent. I don't think you're from Pittsburgh. Marco, where are you from?
I'm originally from Italy, of course. If you see Italy like a boot, I come from the heel of the boot, from a region called Puglia.
I've heard of it because I happen to have relatives from Calabria. By the way, on a fun fact, I went to, just this week, Sam Bozzola, who was a guest on the show a week or so ago, did a wonderful presentation of Puglia. And I will tell you, I didn't know a few things. We're going to talk about Puglia, and then we're going to talk about you, though. But Puglia, what's the town where The Passion of the Christ was filmed?
In Matera.
Mel Gibson filmed that.
Mel Gibson, The Passion of Mel Gibson was shot in Matera, yes.
That looked just gorgeous. And I also saw, what's the town with is that the one that has the houses are actually like caves in the side of the mountain? Wow.
Yes.
You've been there, I assume.
Oh, yeah, several times.
Do you go there? I'm just curious. This is kind of a weird question. You're from an area that I would go, man, that's beautiful. I want to live there. But you don't live there. I kind of jump into something. Do Italians know how pretty? And it's going to sound like a crazy question, but do they know how pretty the land they come from is? Or do you think you take it for granted?
Yes, yes. Because first, like everybody, we like to visit the far stuff. We're going to go see to the big cities far away. We're going to go out of the country, out of the county. We don't like to see the surroundings. So just a quick example about that. I talked with my mom the other day. She went to see a little town in the Salento, which is the very south part of my region, Puglia. And it's about 45 minutes away from where I live. And she was like, they have like a Frantoi Ipogei, which is an old construction where the people used to bring the olives to make olive oil and everything, from like the 1st century or the 2nd century. And we had no idea that they were there around the corner of our house. Instead, we go visit far away, and she really appreciated the fact that we have such treasures around the corner, but we don't want to see that. We have no idea.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I know, like, I grew up here in Pittsburgh, and there are some things, and I'll give you a good example. Just yesterday, my other Marco, who's helping me, we're doing the consulate stuff, and we go for a walk. We think we get some pictures taken. Yes, we needed to get some card for the carta d'identità. So we're walking, and I'm in downtown Pittsburgh, and I look up at this one building, and it's got all this. I mean, you can tell it's clearly an older building, but it has all this really pretty architecture. And he kind of points up, and I said, I never knew that was there. I grew up here. I've probably been in downtown 1,000 times. I've never looked up and said, wow, that's pretty. And I think I would probably have grown up in Italy and go, so what? There's this nice Coliseum. Who cares? I want to go to America and see the big square buildings in New York and smell all the pollution. I don't want to smell this fresh air in the countryside. But you know, when you move away, did you move was it just work related, or was it just like, I'm looking for an adventure?
In the beginning, I came here as a tourist. I was asked to come to America and check it out through a friend of mine who, in the years, became my mentor. He still is a Sicilian man who moved here more than 50 years ago. And so I came here as a tourist, first time in the country. I didn't speak any English, so it was quite fascinating in the beginning. And then when I started to come more and more and more in America, I started to become challenging because of communication skills. I didn't speak any language. I wasn't able to interact with the locals. And but it was like that. I came here just because nothing was set or scheduled.
And you just ended up staying?
Yeah, I mean, I
obviously you're here, but I mean...
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Are your papers in order, by the way?
Of course they are. Don't let me start on that. That was another challenging. It took a long time to have everything straightened up. But anyhow. And yes, first of all, I was in Washington, D.C. when I arrived in the States. And then I met who now is my wife. And she's from the Pittsburgh area, and I came here, and the rest is history.
Putting aside the communication,
yes,
culturally,
yes,
what were some of the biggest shocks, good or bad, that you found once you kind of got settled here, and you said, wow? What were some of those wow moments, good or bad?
Wow moment is that communication skills. First of all, English, it's a challenge language for me. I mean,
For Americans too. That's why we don't speak English. We speak American. And
yeah.
There is a difference. People don't know that. There is a difference between what is proper English and what we speak here. Yes.
Also, the Pittsburgh it has its own language. I mean, between pops and it's very challenging. The wow. Now, aside from communication skills, America is big.
Yes.
Wow, it's big.
Right.
I mean, another wow is that some of the people still are, into a concept that America, the American dream and everything, which it changed, I think, a little bit. So that's a down wow. And but the rest, it's gorgeous. The size of the country People are very welcome. I have to be honest. People are very welcome, especially in the Pittsburgh area. I was very, very. I feel home when I'm around here. I mean, ton of Italians, a ton of people from all over the country and from all over other countries that are very welcoming. So that's a very super wow.
I think that, it's funny you say that. I think that is an underappreciated thing about America. For the most part, don't believe it. People watch the news and they don't watch the news.
Don't listen to the news.
Most Americans are good people.
Oh, they are.
And it don't matter. And they'll welcome, to your point, they'll welcome anybody. And, it's funny you say the American dream, because I think when you're new, it's still new. But when your family came here, say 100 years ago, you don't understand what that, you lose what that dream even means.
But because I think 100 years ago they left Italy for a different reason.
Correct. So but they knew that if I come here, I have the chance that I could work hard, and believe it or not, that's still here. But I think the problem is the people that have been living here for 4, 5, 6 generations, they're the ones that kind of lost sight of, and that's not everybody, but I think a lot of people have lost their work ethic.
A little bit. As I say, the world is evolving. We don't know how.
Right.
We don't know which direction, but it's definitely different. So even when I spoke with the other Italians that they came here 50, 60 years ago, now looking back, they say the American dream is in Italy, which means the world is changing a different way now. Opportunity are rising in your own country. It's almost like. I left Italy because there was nothing there, especially during the war. Here was a different scenario. Now the war is over. Italy developed so good. So why you decide to come here when instead try to mine, in your own mind? I don't know. I mean, life comes in a different way. Sometimes it challenges you in a different direction. For now, America for me is working. I got my family here. I got the opportunity, and I'm still, digging to find more and more. But I don't see maybe the opportunity for me to go back.
To Italy?
Yeah.
Interesting. Because everybody I talk to says, I want to go over there. And I say, it's funny you say that, because most of the people around here, when they go to Italy, they're going on vacation. So they only go to the big main spots. They're only there a week or two. And, they're in a nice hotel. They can go down and have the food. They see the beautiful Trevi Fountain, the Colosseo, the Vaticano, et cetera. So they say, oh, this is beautiful. I want to live here.
Okay. Good luck.
Exactly. But they don't understand. That's fantasy. That's why it's called a vacation. It is a break from reality. Because the Italians that live there will say, just like it's hot today. I got to wait in line at the government office. The line at the hospital, I got to pay my taxes, look at my paycheck. They're complaining about, in a lot of ways, the same things we're complaining about.
Of course.
And so when you go there, you have to learn to separate vacation from the real world. Most people don't go over there and live full time unless they're completely retired. Kids are all grown up. I got nothing here. Okay, now you go over there and you live quietly. Otherwise, I think people are in for a big surprise. And listen, it is one of my dreams is to possibly go back there and retire there, just because, to me, I don't want to say this in a funny way, but when you grow up here, it's not that I've seen it all. I have not seen it all. But when you go to another country, you feel like it's a new adventure. Everything's new. The language is new. The money is new. The food is new. The directions on the sign are new. Everything's new, and it's like it becomes an adventure. You feel that when you came here?
Of course. The challenge was big because besides not speaking the language, from Fahrenheit to Celsius, from meters to feet, from pounds to kilo, I mean, everything was a challenge. Try to go to Lowe's or Home Depot, figure out the measurements that you need without the measuring tape was very challenging. So, but again, everything was new. Everything was fascinating.
Right. Even the simple things.
Simple things was challenging. But as you say, as soon as you start to deal with the government offices,
all of a sudden
that's
it's
when
all
the fun
the same.
goes on. The fun goes away. But anyhow, it's a learning experience. I've been traveling a lot, and America so far is one of the most beautiful countries that I've
Well,
visited.
I like I said, I think America. I still like. I'm very proud, and this is the other thing, and I think maybe you'll understand this. You can be proud of your culture and where you came from, but that's not necessarily the same as your loyalty. So, for example, I'm born in America. Sono nato negli Stati Uniti. Sono cresciuto negli Stati Uniti. I served in the U.S. military. My loyalty is to America. But that don't mean I can't be proud of Italy. Maybe one day I go back and live there. It doesn't change, the fact that I was born and raised here. Do you feel that, or have you just said, nope, I'm not going back, so I'm going to,
No, absolutely. I am 100% on your side. I'm proud of America for what gave me and what I gave to America. So with the country, I established a loyal relationship, but I'm still Italian. I mean, it's when I see the Italian flag, when I hear the national anthem from Italy, it's I don't know.
Well, it's who you were developed when you were young, and that was where you developed.
Of course.
So I don't fault people for that. That's why when people immigrate here, and everyone says, "Oh, you gotta speak English, become American," I'm like, I agree with that, but that doesn't mean you forget your culture.
Of course.
And I think that's a lot of people think coming to America means I have to forget everything about the past and become an American. But what does American mean? So it's a combination of a lot of things. So. Marco, and you were worried we wouldn't have nothing to talk about. Folks, I'm going to be right back because I got to pay the bills.
Ciao, Chrissy. Your Italian got so much better. Brava.
Grazie. It's because I learned the best way possible.
How so?
Well, I learned that with apps, grammar books, and even YouTube videos, I could only get so far. I had to immerse myself. I noticed I did best when I was in Italy visiting family. That's where my level really soared.
And wow, did it work?
Thanks. I became much more confident, fast. That's why I created Footsteps Through Time. It's an Italian language experience. You don't just take Italian classes, you immerse yourself in a real Italian village. With lots of fun activities and excursions, it's life-changing.
I see. So, no more boring grammar, impersonal apps, just real conversations, real culture, and delicious food, of course.
Exactly. I'm so excited about this. Learn Italian by actually becoming part of the local community for a week and living it. So if you've been dreaming of Italy and the language, check out Footsteps Through Time in Italy.com. Book now and join the experience.
Andiamo!
Thanks to Greater Pittsburgh Travel. For any of your travel needs, let Tom and the team at Greater Pittsburgh Travel know, and they'll take care of you. For more information, call 412-331-2244 or visit their website at www.greaterpittsburghtravel.com. Did your parents or grandparents ever talk about the Vietnam War? The Hardest Year, a love story and letters during the Vietnam War, is an accurate portrayal of what life was like during the 1960s, a time of the draft, equal rights, and the anti-war movement. Follow newlyweds through their letters as they navigate 1 year of the war and ocean apart. The Hardest Year by Carol and William Wagner is available now wherever books are sold. And we want to thank the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. If you're interested in learning more, you can find their contact information on Facebook at Calabria Club of Pittsburgh. Again, thanks Domenica and the team at the Calabria Club of Pittsburgh for your support. And we want to thank La Scuola d'Italia Galileo Galilei, the only nonprofit school in Pittsburgh endorsed by the Italian Consulate. If you're interested in learning Italian or have your children being immersed in the Italian culture and language, be sure to give them a call at 412-404-7070. And that's La Scuola d'Italia Galileo Galilei. We'd also like to thank Chris Gonzalez from the Knights of Columbus. If you have any questions about joining the Knights of Columbus, reach out to Chris Gonzalez at 412-605-9074. The San Rocco Foundation will be celebrating their 100th celebration. Our celebration will be August 8th, 9th, and 10th at St. Francis Cabrini Parish Campus, Mary Queen of Saints. Events start at 4 p.m. each day. On Sunday, August 10th, Mass will begin at 9 a.m. at St. Titus Church in Aliquippa. There will be a procession immediately following. For more information, check out their website at www.sanroccofoundation.org. Again, that's www.sanroccofoundation.org. Hello, Bucco fans. This is Steve Stefano Mancini, international award-winning filmmaker and host of the award-winning Italian Impact podcast. Join us in celebrating the Italian community on August 23rd as the Pirates take on the Colorado Rockies. This special offer includes an exclusive Pirates co-branded Italian hat and loaded value, good to use on concessions and merchandise on the day of the game. Also, a portion of each ticket will be donated to a local Italian charity. So come experience a unique blend of sports, culture, and community during Italian Heritage Night at PNC Park. Grazie, ci vediamo. All right, welcome back, Marco. Now, we've touched on your pride of your newfound nation and welcome to America.
Thank you.
How often do you go back to Italy?
Go back to Italy a lot, actually, because with the business that I'm in now,
Which we're going to talk about.
Yes, gives me the opportunity to go back a lot, because don't forget, everybody are still in Italy.
Right.
Here I have just a wife and my kids, my mom, my dad, my two brothers, my grandmother still in the hill of the boot.
So funny you say that. When I was in the military, my first 6 years I spent overseas. I think I came home one time in that overseas. I spent 6 years. I only came back to America one time. And I was in kind of the same boat. The only thing we remember is, like, for example, I was in Japan for 3 years. All I had was my wife and my kids. That's it. The family's on the other side of the world. So, you know, you're kind of, I don't want to say lonely Christmas, but, you know, it's, you know.
It is.
So you want to go, you know, so, wow, you're torn. What do I do? But I want to talk about the tour stuff here in a second. But first, I was surprised. You're a professional singer. And me more.
I am, yes. I went to the Conservatori Tito Schipa in Lecce, so I started to study opera voice when I was 17, and I did that for 6 years. I graduated with a bachelor degree, and then I did a master degree in performance and teaching, and I've been singing since I was little.
Where do you perform at?
Everywhere. You need an Italian singer, I'm your guy.
Folks, if you're listening to the Italian Impact Podcast, please take a look down in the description. I'm going to put Marco's information down there, and you can hire him.
Of course.
But no, that's funny. I'm going to have to do that because, you know, being as I belong to 57 different Italian-American organizations here in the States, we're always looking for entertainment. But now let's talk about the tour guide, because that is something that there are a lot of people that do tours and travel. In fact, I've got a very good travel agency that sponsors the show. And Tom's a great guy. He takes care of anything I'm traveling to. He takes care of it. But that's a different animal, we like to say, a different animal than actually being a tour guide. It's going to go with you and say, okay, come here, come with me, versus hiring somebody on site. Talk about what you do and what makes you different.
Makes me different because we do customize everything, which means we don't have a pre-made tours. You call me, you say, Marco, I want to go see my great-grandmother hometown, which is a little town in Calabria, a little town in Abruzzo. And I tailor your trip based on that. And I take care of everything from the airfare, the lodging, the food, the attraction or the activities, the cooking class, the wine tasting. Plus, I am on the trip with you, so I become your personal assistant. Anything that belongs between you and a service, Marco's in the middle. So you don't have to deal with the language barrier, with the money. People try to scam you and try to fall into one of these tourist traps. Marco is taking care of everything because I'm from there. I can see from far away what's going on. I can warn you, and I can make your trip more enjoyable. Pretty much we do what everybody else don't want to do because it's a big responsibility. It's a lot of challenging. It's a lot of work behind. But after we take our clients to Italy, you see in those eyes the result, the memories that we built, because again, we do something very unique. It's worth it.
Now, let's talk about, you know, some of the clients. Have you done, for example, tours where it was like, hey, this is the first time we're going to meet somebody, or
yes. I had first timers, so the trip become more.
Because I wonder if you do like the genealogy for them.
I do that also. So for the first timers, it's a cliche, you know. Of course, Rome,
right.
Florence, Venice, and blah blah blah.
I've never been to Venice, by the way.
I take you to Venice. For people that they go back, I stay more off the beaten path. So right. Small town, more local experience, more blending in with the culture. But I had people that they say, I know that I have relatives that I never met. How can I find them out? Marco jumps in, I help you out. And I start to call everybody. I call the borough, I call the mayor, I call everybody.
And those small
in
towns,
Italy.
yeah, that's easy.
So I become literally a cicerone for a little bit, but I make that up, and I do this big family reunion. Usually, I had the opportunity once. The town was so small, only 350 people, that we did like a quarter of the town was related to this couple. We did a big table full of food and people in the middle of the street in the piazza. I mean, it was like a movie. It was amazing.
You know, it's funny you say that, because when I went back and met some of my relatives the first time, it was kind of like people show up and you're like, well, who's this? And it's incredible. I do know, and a lot of people don't know this, not all of those relatives are happy to see you because of the whole inheritance piece.
Of course.
Because they think, and I think a lot of Americans don't understand that is, Italian law is very different. It is hereditary. If you don't specifically say this goes to this, then by law, there's a certain, way property is inherited, et cetera. Because we get a lot of that at the consulate. People say, well, I inherited this land from my grandmother, and I don't know what to do with it, and I'm going to sell it, or I'm going to give it to my cousin, and they got to do procura, and then they got to do all this paperwork. But there are families that say, maybe you're saying, well, my great-grandfather immigrated here. Well, he may have been the oldest, which means his son, and then his son, and then maybe you. Now you can go back and maybe make a claim for that. So they say, well, why are you here? Do you see that?
It happened a couple of times. I remember there was a time the family actually wanted really to meet these people, and the great-grandmother of these people was still living, which was the sister of the grandfather, I think, something like that. But anyhow, so everybody at the airport, and the grandmother with her son were in the car, looping around the airport waiting for us to come out. As soon as we jump into the car, the great-grandmother, she didn't even say hi. She said, hey, there's no money here. So in a way,
Ma perché no?
Don't come for for the, per l'eredità. There's no money here.
I wonder how often, I understand it could happen, but I wonder how often does it really happen?
No, it's very, very, very rare.
I can't imagine. I don't know why they'd worry about it.
Very rare, because most of the time, because people in America, they had a piece of land or a house. After 30 or 40 years, they just give it up. I mean, unless you don't have anybody else in the small hometown to take care of, to do some type of paperwork, to pass it along to somebody else, which again is very rare. Yeah, I don't think maybe just one time we were able to find all the catasto paper, which is, and we find out that this house was still under the property of the great-grandfather. So a ton of paperwork, because you need a death certificate, you need to prove that you are the great-grandson. So who was your father, who was your grandfather, who was your great-grandfather. But we were able to get the papers in order. It took about 8 months, but we were able to take this little house and claim it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What'd they do with it?
They refinished, and I took them again to the small hometown to see the house, to spend some time there last year.
Oh, so they're going to use that now as a vacation.
Oh yeah, they
home.
use it as a vacation.
Now
house.
let's talk about buying houses in Italy. Now, there are a lot of people say, "Oh, these dollar houses." Now, anything that sounds too good to be true probably isn't.
It's not true.
Right. So talk about property ownership.
Some of these small town, for real, they had properties for $1, which means you need to spend at least $200,000 to put them up to code, because they are literally, they don't even 4 walls, just 3. And it's very rare. Usually you need to there is almost type of a raffle about it, or there is a bidding process. So you start from $1 and maybe goes up. But on properties in Italy, it's not that difficult. It's challenging because taxes. So if you retire, you can go to one of these small towns and claim 7% taxes. They have a flat taxes, so in order for you to keep you there, invest your money into the Italian community. On the other hand, these happen only if you are retired. If you are not retired and you want to buy a house in Italy, is much more challenging because if you are a citizen, you need to move your residency there in order to claim it as a first house. I mean, it's not easy. That's why I say it's challenging, but it's doable. I mean, we can assist you with that too.
Now let's talk about that, because that was one of the things people listening, I've thought about it, and there's two things you said that they're stopping me. One, you can't, even in America, you can't just buy a home and go, okay, I'll see you in 6 months. You know, between the animals, people breaking in, the rain, you're going to come back in 6 months. It's not going to look exactly like it was when you left it. So you have to have somebody maintain it. So ideally, you're either going to pay somebody, or you want to buy it where if you think you have trustable family.
In Italy, I don't know.
That's what I said. And I'm going to hold that because I want to mention that. But then you hopefully they'll watch it for you. So if you don't have that, you're literally just leaving your property for long periods of time. And then I want to talk about the taxes, because there is a difference if I'm an Italian citizen or a foreigner. Do Italians pay things like school tax, county tax? You know, how do their taxes work?
So taxes are handled in a different way. I'm not a professional about it, but I can give you from my experience. I mean, I pay taxes in Italy too.
Hold on, folks. A disclaimer. This is not tax advice. This is his opinion based on his experiences.
Yes.
Go ahead, Marco.
Yes. So, yes, we do have, first of all, the school in Italy is government school, and we don't have local taxes related
like we
to
do, right?
A school. Most of the taxes that we pay are for the streets, for the government building and whatever. We do have the taxes that prove if you are rich or not, which are called the modello ISE, which is la dichiarazione dei redditi, how much your reddito, like how much you're worth it.
So, and they count U.S. assets. So if I go retire over there, they're going to say, how much money are you making in,
But again, it depends if you want to do it as a living local, which means you need to move your residency from Pittsburgh to your...
As soon as I retire from this consolato onorario.
Okay.
See.
So you need to see, because going back on the house things, the fact that, yes, you leave your house, but what people are doing right now, especially family, if there are 4 brothers, if there are 2 brothers and 2 sisters, they are buying a property, they are rotating. Who's going in July, who's going in August, who's going in September, who's going in November. The house is also, it's less of an investment. If I ask you 100 grand versus 20, so you are able to put a piece of a property in Italy to share with your siblings or with your family, rotate the occupancy, and in the meantime, maybe you pay a little company that once every 6 months goes and clean and check it out. So you can definitely do that. On the taxes, I always suggest to go always in Italy as a tourist, because there is a less involvement into taxes. But if you want to return, if you want to actually move your residency there, you can talk with a commercialista, which is an accountant who takes care of that, and he can move your assets in a way that... because you pay taxes in the place, for Italy, you pay the taxes in the place that you have your residency.
Okay.
So if you need to move your residency to Italy, you pay your taxes in Italy. But if your residency is still in the United States, you can claim a forfeit, which means a number that you can claim and disclaim. You can get some money back or own some money. So it depends how you impromptu that.
I know that I think that if you live in Italy and you collect U.S. Social Security, I think you pay taxes to the Italian government on the Social Security.
Of course, you have.
So a lot of people don't know that. They think they're going to go live in Italy and say, well, I don't make any money here. They still...
Says who?
Yeah, exactly. You have to claim your income. And the United States has an agreement. I'm no expert, but I looked at this. But the United States actually has an agreement that there's a form you fill out when you live overseas. So you can't just say, well, I don't live in the United States, I don't have to pay taxes on it. You pay in the country that you live in, depending on the country. So I think a lot of people should know that. Just because you don't work there maybe you don't work anymore, and you said, well, I'm not residing in the U.S., you're still not getting out. You're paying somebody taxes.
You have to.
Are the taxes higher in Italy, in your opinion, than they are in the States?
Yes,
Income or property or both?
all of them.
Really? You think just because of the percentage?
Because of percentage, yeah.
Wow, I thought the property tax would be lower in Italy.
Again, it depends what you
Right.
own.
Well, that's right.
If you own a Stone, you don't pay as much. If you own a Ferrari, you pay. I think you pay. Yes. Also, let's say if you own a Ferrari, you pay maybe more in Italy. I mean, I never owned a Ferrari in Italy, but on the other end, I think like war taxes are relative taxes and sales taxes are much more. Like
I remember.
in Beaver County where I live, I think are 5%, 6%. 7% in Italy is 22.
Right, on a purchase. Yep, because I had to go and you just claim that, hey, I'm not a citizen, and you get certain taxes back.
Yeah, taxes is always but I can say when we help people move to Italy, because of my company, we assist people buying a property, we assist people moving there. We always say the easy part is to do it right. So we collaborated with a ton of lawyers, commercialisti, anyone that is deeply and professional into the business. They make it first very easy for you. Second, they find the best way in order to pay as less as possible.
So you're not just a professional singer. You're not just a pretty face. You're actually somebody who can help people get to Italy.
Because as I say, I do stuff that people don't want to do because
I know, I'm lazy. I don't want to do it either. Marco, I'm going to call you
because
when I'm ready.
A lot of people say, I spoke with this guy, or I watched this podcast, or I listened to this video. They get me to a certain point, and then when the challenge occurs, they say, you know what, you should figure out your own. We don't do that. We hold your hands until the end.
Well, I have a funny thing about that because a lot of people don't know. When you buy a house, there's also things they have to check to make sure no modifications were done, that it matches the blueprints. And if it doesn't, then they have to show that it was legally modified, the house. There's all kinds of stuff. In America, you can go in, you get the house inspected. If it passes, it doesn't matter what somebody did. In Italy, it matters if they've done any kind of renovations on the house.
And they need to be legal renovation, otherwise you need to own money, and you need to make that. And
you can get screwed out of that if you buy it. So you got to
big time, and then you need to wait for the condono. Oh my gosh, it's a nightmare. That's why I said, if you want to do it, sometimes people say, it takes too long, but doing the right way because you want to sleep with a triple pillow.
That's right.
Not to worry about it.
So, simplest question. If I want to do it right, do I want to live over there or do it as a part-time over there, but if I'm buying?
Part-time.
So don't go full-time. Okay. I like your attitude, Marco, because that's probably what I can afford right now.
It's true. No, but...
Because I got to work in the winter is my point.
But beside that, the lifestyle in Italy, it's much lower in... let me rephrase it. Like the lifestyle in Italy puts you in a situation that you can spend less money and be happy in the same time that you are in America. If in America you are happy with 1,000, in Italy you can be happy the same with 500. Make sense?
See.
Okay. Yeah. So the thing is that it depends how much you wanna enter yourself into, the line of the government, the line of the post office. Also, a bank in America does different stuff that a bank in Italy does. The post office in Italy is also a bank. Right. You can put your money there. Whatever a lawyer can do in America, you need a notaio, which is a notary in Italy. That costs 7 gazillion times more than a notary here. So do you really want to put yourself into all of that just to stay an extra month or an extra 2 months?
That's right.
So
buona domanda. It's a good point.
So unless you are alone and you want to go to Italy leaving nothing behind, God bless you. Do it. We can help you. Call me. Follow Marco.com and I'll take care of everything. Now, if you still have grandchildren here and kids, try to do in a way that you are perfectly into a limbo situation so you enjoy both countries without dealing too much with one or the other.
If I didn't hate flying, I'd be doing it all the time.
I know.
I hate flying. I got to fly in 2 weeks.
Me too.
Ugh.
It used to be so easy, but now that I'm flying more and more and more, thank God there are drugs. Thank God.
No, I just learned to thank God. I say, all right, God, if you want to play lawn dart with my airplane, there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm learning to just accept. There's nothing I can do. Just
Jesus has more to worry about, especially now, than crashing your airplane. Also, I don't think he likes you that much that he wants you up there.
That's
Believe me,
right.
he wants to keep you down here.
the pragmatic wisdom of the Italians, folks. But Marco, I want to thank you for coming on. And you were worried we wouldn't have anything to talk about. Now, if folks want to follow you or get a hold of you, how can they do that?
So they can check out my website. Also, on the part that...
and I'll put it in the description. But
yeah, on the part that we do in Italy, we also organize private weddings. So if you want to get married in Italy, we take care of that too.
Oh, by the way, I cannot marry people in the honorary consulate. I did get a request for somebody to marry them. You can actually get married in the consulate in Philadelphia, but you can't get married in the honorary consulate in Pittsburgh. So just an FYI.
Just an FYI. But anyhow, followmarco.com, which is Folly, Marco.com.
FOLLY?
That's what I said. You see what happened?
Okay.
FOLLW, Marco.com. Followmarco.com.
I'll put it in the description, folks.
Put it in the description because you see what happened when I speak English and I think in Italian.
That's like my Italian. Don't worry. They look. That's why everybody looks at me strange.
If they want to check out any of my music, they can go on Spotify, Apple
I'll
Music.
put that on there too.
I'm everywhere. Just write Marco Fiorante, and I'm the looking guy on the top.
I like your attitude. And I'm going to put that out there in the description. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in. Marco, thank you for coming in.
Thank you,
didn't think we were going to have much to talk about. Look, we're way over my 30 minutes now, so,
It's okay.
You did all right. You did. If I keep you on over 30, you know you're doing it right. Now, if I cut you off at 22, you got a problem.
It's okay.
So,
okay. But it was a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, folks, again, thank you very much for tuning in. You have a wonderful week. I don't know if I'm going to do a show next week, but I certainly won't be doing one the next week because, God willing, I will be in Italy filming a new documentary up in Abruzzo. More to follow. I'll tell you all about that one when I get back. Again, God willing. He said, Dio ci vuole. Torno subito. But anyways, folks, I will see you either next week, in a few weeks. But if you are missing this, please go out to ItalianImpactWeekly.com or just go to any streaming service. iHeart, iTunes, Amazon, you name it, we're on it. So you can listen to all the old podcasts. If you can't sleep at night, you just want to hear my soft, sultry voice, please go check out older episodes. I've had a lot of wonderful guests on there. And I want to thank all of my guests. I want to thank all of my listeners. And in the meantime, I will see you soon. Have a wonderful week and God bless you.